Hello and welcome to the Outside the Cockpit Monaco Grand Prix preview show. My name is Sam Donsk. I'm joined by Ming, TJ, and Julian. How you guys doing today?
Pretty good. You?
Doing pretty good. Exciting, obviously, race weekend coming up. Obviously, we haven't raced at Monaco in over 200 days, something like that. It's been over almost 2 years, so it's felt like that. But before we get into talking about the Monaco Grand Prix, let's talk about Lando Norris's new contract extension with McLaren. Obviously, he re-upped with another 2 seasons, so he will be with McLaren alongside Ricciardo. They've now aligned to each other to be both with that team till 2023. Let's start with you, TJ, with your thoughts on the contract extension.
It's a bit of a masterstroke by McLaren, really, because, he's in the form of his life. He's never been performing better. And it's very similar to what Red Bull pulled with Max Verstappen when he was performing well at Toro Rosso in 2015, 2016, because, everyone knew Mercedes wanted Verstappen, Ferrari wanted Verstappen, so did Red Bull. So it's pretty much the exact same situation here because, like I said, he's in the form of his life, and everyone's going to want him. Mercedes, Ferrari, Red Bull, all the teams will want him. So for him to re-up with McLaren, it makes sense for pretty much everybody involved, except for the other teams, obviously, because they don't get such a hot shot like him.
Exactly, yeah. And what do you think, Julian?
So McLaren, as we all know, is a British team, and there's not many of those, it seems, still on the grid. Every team is based out of the UK. Mercedes has a factory. Red Bull has a factory. All these teams are like that, but we see it. Many of these teams call the German Grand Prix home, the Italian Grand Prix home. Heck, you can even call the Austrian Grand Prix a home race for Red Bull, as we've seen these past couple of years. And McLaren has been a team that have one of the richest histories in the sport, and they also technically have the courage and the heart to say we've had 3 of arguably the top 5 drivers in history. It could be debated as well with what they have. And so obviously they want to bring more British glory to it. Lando Norris, as TJ said, is a rising star, it appears. He's been absolutely on fire this season, 4th on the constructors, above Sergio Perez, right behind Valtteri Bottas, and at the same time outclassing everybody in the field. The McLaren car is good this year. Obviously, there's a regulations change. We don't know how that's going to turn out. We saw how the regulation change really messed up McLaren when we jumped from 2009 to 2010 and then into the turbo hybrid era. Really messed them up. But what they want to do is get it right. And the one way you get it right is by getting the correct drivers. Daniel Ricciardo seems to be on board long term. Of course, he said the same thing with Renault, now Alpine. So things can obviously change in the future. But if you can secure both your drivers into the rules regulation, it helps the creation of the car, it helps boost the car, and it'll bring some stability to the team. Lando Norris, young driver, British team, and a team trying to get back to glory. This is a move you want to make.
Exactly. What are your thoughts here, Ming, on this move?
Yeah, I'm just going to reflect on the notes of TJ and Julian as well. Lando Norris is a prospect, and it's a prospect that McLaren is comfortable to take a bet on him, and he's been performing really well. And with the new regulation, it's going to be like either it's going to go really well or it's going to go the other way. But I think that's a good decision for McLaren. And yeah, it's good for everyone involved in the party as well, though.
No, I'd exactly agree with you. I think Lando Norris, he's got loads of potential. He's really stepped up from last season and from his rookie season as well. He's taken control. He's also, I feel like Lando Norris and Daniel Ricciardo are very similar. It's like they may seem like nice guys from the other side, like from the front, they're always smiling and stuff, but they've got killer instincts where they want to race, they will race, and they will score points, and they will do whatever it takes to win, or at least, get on podiums and stuff. And I really like Lando Norris as well. He's a super exciting driver to watch. And yeah, just can't wait until more.
Yeah, if I can just mention one more thing, obviously we can see it when it comes into historical aspects, specifically Daniel Ricciardo. We could kind of see something similar to play out to how his Red Bull career ended. Obviously, Lando Norris is not the same person as Max Verstappen, as we've very much seen. He's way more open, he's way more chatty, he's way more out there, but the one thing he does have, like Max, is that killer instinct on the track. Ricciardo's a senior driver. He's getting paired up with a talented youngster on a team that's looking to start competing soon. Very, very similar to the whole Red Bull situation he was thrown into with Max Verstappen. And this brings up the whole concept of how do drivers relate to on track and how does that affect them off track? Because one thing that was very publicized until the incidents in Baku and so many different disputes, especially involving Red Bull, when it came between Max Verstappen and Daniel Ricciardo, they had a very, very good relationship. It's soured as teammates. Now that they're not teammates, it's getting better. They're friends again. There's not a huge issue with that. And we see that now. Lando and Ricciardo, they don't have a problem at all yet. But if there's one thing that you could be like, okay, this might affect it, it's having a senior driver who obviously wants to go out there and win a championship, as we know Ricciardo can, and pairing him with a young driver that many are also touting to be a world champion potentially in the correct machinery. So that's just going to be very, very interesting to see. Very glitz and glamorous. That's just how McLaren wants to operate into the future. And with that, I think it's perfectly now to talk about the Monaco GP, since we're talking about the glitz and the glamour.
Yes, indeed. Let's move into our qualifying predictions. Let's start with you, Ming. Where do you think, who do you think is going to be on pole position, and where do you think the rest of the grid will form out?
Looking at it's been so long since the last Monaco Grand Prix, as you said before the show. It's just, it's been since 2019. That's when Niki Lauda passed away. It's a memorial. There's a memorial race. But I'll say I'll put my trust on Lewis Hamilton. He still have his own crew, and I think that Monaco is Monaco, and he really ace it. I would expect Bottas and Verstappen would just be followed behind, and with Perez in fourth place. Perez he's on a mission to do something, but I think that he's comfortably in fourth place, and then maybe seeing some surprises from Ricciardo in terms of qualifying, as he's been the master of Monaco as well, right? So so there'll be like the McLaren, and then overall that's like my role for the top rank, and I'll leave the midfield to TJ.
Yeah, alrighty. Let's go to you, TJ. What do you think is going to be on pole position on Sunday?
Well, it's going to be one of the usual suspects in it, Hamilton or Verstappen. Very unlikely you'll see Bottas or Perez on pole. So it's going to be one of them. If we look at the Sector 3 times from Barcelona, because that's very similar to Monaco, very twisty-turny, it was Red Bull who had the quicker time by about a tenth of a second, if I remember. So based on that alone, you'd say Red Bull, plus also Monaco has recently been more of a Red Bull track than a Mercedes track, with Ricciardo snatching pole in 2016 before losing it in the race due to that tire mix-up, and then sticking it on pole 2 years later and then winning it again. Last year, so 2 years ago, was last time when they were in Monaco, it was Hamilton who blitzed the field. But I think it's because Verstappen needs to have an answer. Barcelona was not his or his team's finest race. They got it wrong with the strategy. They got caught by surprise. So I'm looking for Verstappen to have some answer on a track where things could work out well for him. Further down into the midfield, I'm picking Charles Leclerc to finally get a high position in Monaco. He really needs it, and his only other 2 races there ended in disaster in qualifying and the race. So hopefully that can change this year.
Yes, indeed. What do you think, Julian?
So obviously the answer for everyone's question is which of the 3 suspects, maybe Perez if he's up for the task, once he said it's 5 races in and I'll be used to the car and be able to maximize my potential of it. It's the 5th race. So Sergio, everyone's got their eyes on you, man. But in all honesty, I don't think there's anyone that's expecting anyone outside of Mercedes or Red Bull to secure the pole position. If we see Perez or Bottas on pole, it's the least likely option compared to the number 1 driver. But if we see that, it's okay, it's the dominant car. We're expecting it to be like that come Saturday. However, Charles Leclerc, he's had amazing pace, very bad luck, so to say. He's had very bad luck at Monaco, but as we saw in that 2019 race, he had amazing pace before one could call a potential rookie mistake into Raskas, but he was blitzing the field, which is absolutely unheard of in a track like Monaco, where passing is so damn hard. But yeah, if I have to give a prediction for qualifying, it's a historically Red Bull track, especially recently. But Mercedes. I'm still thinking Lewis Hamilton. I'm correlating. I'm thinking 2008 Lewis Hamilton with his win at Monaco. But if anyone has to put any money on it, you would have to put money on Verstappen. He has to blitz this field. He needs to get back into that title fight. He obviously still has a lot of races to go because F1 has such a large calendar. So early races, you can dig yourself out of that hole, but you want to stay as close as possible to a guy as Lewis Hamilton, which seems practically robotic when it comes to mistakes. That guy doesn't make mistakes, it seems, so you just have to be better than him on the day. Verstappen has the potential to do so. I'm expecting a very, very similar situation come race day as in 2019, where we saw Hamilton and Verstappen being so close coming to the end of the race. However, I am anticipating this to go either way. You can't predict qualifying on a track like Monaco.
No.
We've seen qualifying is up in the air for whatever team is up for it on the day. We've seen BAR get on pole. We've seen a bunch of different crazy things get on pole. Sergio Perez in a Force India got a podium on race day. So
Yes,
Monaco can throw anything to you, and the only thing that you have to do is expect the unexpected. We can expect the best, but hey, it is what it is when it comes down to it.
Yeah, I would have to agree with you, but I'm going to throw a hot take in there. I think Daniel Ricciardo could stick it possibly in third position. I think he could get onto podium as I know he's had a lot of success. Like obviously he won in 2018, he stuck on a pole in 2016. He seems like he does really well at Monaco, so I wouldn't be surprised in the McLaren machinery that is very strong that he could possibly stick it onto third position. Again, for pole position, it's going to be. I want to say, even though I'm a Max Verstappen fan, I think Lewis Hamilton's going to get it. Verstappen just seems, I don't know if he's off his game a bit just because he's been struggling a bit, like since the first race of Bahrain, where he kind of had his one chance to win, like the one race that he had, and then since Imola as well. But yeah, no, definitely Verstappen needs to have a good outing in qualifying. He needs a good qualified position to try to get the race win, because it is crucial for him to win this race to keep the title fight close, because he can get as many second places as he wants, but he needs to win races to win the championship. That's the 2 cents. That's all there really is. With that in mind, let's move on to our race predictions. Let's start with you, Julian. Where do you think the grid will form up? We'll finish up on Sunday.
Oh man, like I said, it's a toss-up, because once Sandoval clears up and everything, unless there's rain, unless we have a Daniel Ricciardo situation where they forget to get the tires ready. Usually it's very single file come race day. Qualifying is the fun part when it comes here, and it's very, very fun to see the scenery and see the drivers push themselves. It's a huge challenge for them. But when it comes to overtaking people, it's not exactly the haven, so to say, in getting that car past another one. There's not many overtake opportunities. There's Sandoval, Raskas, if you have, so to say, the cojones for it. The Nouveau chicane is the most popular place for a overtake, so it's going to be close. Whoever puts it on pole, you could probably safely bet your money on them winning the Grand Prix. It's been like that usually, but we've seen times where, oh no, your engine stalled, oh no, you got a poor start. Things are crazy in Monaco, and whoever gets out of that first corner usually is the one that gets it. But if I have to give a race prediction, Lewis Hamilton is absolutely on fire right now, but Max Verstappen has a bone to pick. It's a toss-up between those two. I don't want to pick because I just know it's going to be a titanic battle. But if I have to give, I think it's going to be one of those two. But if I have to throw in a sleeper, I'm not giving up faith on Sergio just yet compared to a lot of fans. It's a Red Bull track. Sergio has shown that he runs well at Monaco with better equipment when he gets lucky, because he's been very unlucky with machinery. When he was in Sauber, he had a crash that almost ruined his career in 2011. He had a bunch of accidents, a bunch of mistakes by the Sauber mechanics. And then with Force India, he never had the best of luck, but he was able to get a podium once. Really shows that he has pace at this track if things fall in his place. He's now in the dominant car. And if you want to see Max Verstappen pull out all the stops, Sergio Perez might have to really embrace the rear gunner role and turn it up a notch this weekend if he doesn't want to be on the hot seat at Red Bull.
Yes, indeed, because we know that seat can be very, very hot, and they're willing to switch drivers mid-season. Well, let's alrighty, TJ, what are your thoughts? Who's coming home with the race win on Sunday?
Well, like Julian said, the race will be won into turn one, barring something catastrophic. Right now, there doesn't seem to be any rain forecast for race day, so that shouldn't be a factor. But again, things can happen with the weather. Surprises can happen. So there might be some rain. Who knows? It's supposed to be scheduled for Monday, but it could be brought back a day. Who knows? Let's see. Discounting the weather and anything catastrophic, if you look at the times where Hamilton has been on pole this year, Verstappen has usually gotten the better of him off the start. You look at Imola and you look at Barcelona. Verstappen did get the better start of the two. So based on that, I'm picking Verstappen to once again get the good start and win the race into turn one. Again, for a sleeper, you obviously have to look at Perez. He did say he was pretty confident about his chances at Monaco this year. But I'm looking for for a sleeper, you'd have to think Bottas might have something left in in the tank, because there's been a lot of talk recently about, whether he might be switched mid-season, but then that was quickly shot down with Mercedes cheekily saying only one other team does that. So there's a lot of pressure on him, and there was some talk about him sorting out his future during the summer break. So he needs an answer, and soon. So based on that, I'd have to say Valtteri Bottas would be my sleeper. Outside of Hamilton, Verstappen.
Cool. All right, what about you, Ming?
I mean, we've been talking about Monaco being a Red Bull track, but I think it's been very, very diverse in terms of race day result, because we have 2016. It's a battle between Red Bull and Mercedes, and Red Bull was at fault. 2017 was Ferrari 1-2, and then 2018 is when Red Bull come back, and then 2019 is Mercedes again, and then so it's still up on the air. I think that I kind of have a lot of I have some hope for Verstappen, but he also has history of being a bit too risky in this in the track and get into unnecessary incidents. So it's really up in the air. I mean, in my guts, I still hope that maybe Ricardo will be the sleeper. Who he's been really solid. I think he's like the person that's knows Monaco the best. He just needs a good car, and Renault was not really delivered on that front in 2019. So that would be my sleeper hit. But winning, I'm not really sure. It's just it's like a big brain game between all the strategists, and if Mercedes keep up the work in Barcelona, then it's an easy win for them. And if Red Bull have to keep it up. So that's my take on it.
Yeah, no, I was thinking it's Red Bull might have a chance, but then again, it is a very strategic race because, there's not a lot of overtaking. So, race strategy and tire strategy is huge. And obviously, based on the last race, Mercedes just kind of outclassed Red Bull there. And then it's even though Red Bull, like Monaco can be somewhat of a Red Bull track, I would say my 2 cents is if Hamilton grabs pole, then most likely he could win the race. But I also, I give it up to Max Verstappen, because he can make a heroic move into Sandoval, even though they suggest not to do that. You might do that. No heroics into Sandoval, as it's always known. But so I would say that. And again, Sergio Perez could challenge, or I'm not saying Sergio Perez for qualifying, but he could make a move as well. But a sleeper pick for me, I would say maybe possibly Charles Leclerc. He could be, I think, a bit of a sleeper. He could make some noise in Monaco, home race. Wanting to finally do well. As long as he gets a good qualifying position, again, this is why qualifying is so huge, because it just sets the tone for the race so much. Are we going to see? And a lot of people do say, oh, Monaco's a boring race because there's not a lot of overtaking. But if you understand F1 properly and understand the strategy behind it, it becomes so much more interesting when you look into the strategy of it. And alrighty, let's move on to some drivers to watch for, which you guys kind of talked about. But let's start with you, Julian. Any drivers to look forward to might surprise or?
Yeah, I don't want to list the names I've already said because, that makes this show kind of boring. But if we're going to talk about dudes that I'm looking forward to see, why not Carlos Sainz? That Ferrari's been looking better and better the past couple weeks. As we know, Monaco is a qualifying track, and we know Sainz can make that car awfully wide. If he can get a pretty solid jump in qualifying, do not be surprised to see him potentially fighting with the big boys. It's going to be obviously tough. That Ferrari still isn't up there just yet. But we saw him outclassing the McLaren. If we have Ricciardo potentially dueling up top, why can't we have a potential Sainz or a Leclerc as well? Hell, even Lando Norris could be up there to prove why that contract needs to stick around, why he's worthy of it. I think those are the main guys. If you want to go for a true sleeper, you can maybe get a little circle and pray to whatever God you pray for and hope that Sebastian Vettel gets back into form. He is Ferrari's last winner at Monaco, and he's also one of the last 3 winners at Monaco as well. He's won here before several times, and if he gets on the podium, he actually ties. If he and Lewis Hamilton both get on the podium, so to say, they're both going to tie Ayrton Senna for most podiums in the history of Monaco. So it would be very, very nice to see him make a podium spot. Is it likely? I'm used to saying Racing Point. My bad. The Aston Martin it doesn't look to be up to scratch this season. Maybe next season with the regulation changes, it'll be easier for them. But for now, obviously, it seems like Vettel's a pipe dream. But hey, it's Monaco. We saw Olivier Panis win a Ligier in a race that had only 3 people finish. So anything can happen at Monaco, So any driver can be to watch. Who knows? Nikita Mazepin might pull out all the stops. Who knows?
Who knows? Oh, TJ.
He might just do a Lord Raghunathan, just go straight to the pit lane instead,
All right. What about you, Ming? Who are your drivers to watch for this weekend in Monaco?
Just keep that in mind. Yeah, Julian. Yeah, I keep saying Force India instead of Racing Point as well. That's also my bad. But
don't worry. David Crosby gets it mixed up all the time. He gets it mixed up all the time.
Don't worry. I had the problem.
He's a professional, so
I had the problem, and I kept saying Force India, and right when I got used to saying Racing Point, they changed the name again. So at this point, I might as well start calling them Jordan because it really just seems like that with how much they changed their name.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think Jordan and the old Jaguar will actually pull it off, but I think that I mean, since you said you just always said Sebastian bad.
We're having some technical difficulties hearing Ming, so we'll get back to his points once he connects once again.
To win as well.
Ming, you cut out during the entire segment explaining.
We're good. Yeah, you kind of
cut out. So go for it.
Okay. That's what I get. So I get for making bad jokes about Jaguar and Jordan. Anyway,
the minority.
Jordan and Jaguar have a great battle together. But yeah, I think since you already put up Sebastian Vettel, I'll say Fernando Alonso will be someone to look for as well, right? Because he's also win here once, and I mean I know the Renault, the Alpine is also not really.
They looked good. They looked solid in Barcelona. Ocon absolutely got everything out of the car.
They got good. I think they got good qualifying pace. They have it's still a very iffy race pace. So I think it's not an overtaking track. So if they got a good qualifying pace, they might be able to pull it off something. So yeah, it's gonna be an exciting battle between the Lotus and the Force India, So
yes, indeed,
the Benetton, so to say.
That would be some. So that would be some. Yeah. So I mean, I would love to see all three of them. The OGs would be on the podium as well, but definitely that. And then again, all the young drivers too. Charles Leclerc, I haven't mentioned him, but yeah, he's going to do something here. I feel it, and yeah. So that's something I will. I will
yes, indeed. All right. What about you, TJ? Who are some drivers to watch for?
I'm going for Pierre Gasly. He's raced twice at Monaco in Formula One, once with Toro Rosso, once with Red Bull. In 2018, he finished 7th, and in 2019 with Red Bull, he finished 5th and got the fastest lap. And he's in the form of his life, a lot like many of the young drivers are right now. So, I mean, Gasly for me is one to watch. He's definitely done well at Monaco in the past. Another name you could throw there is Esteban Ocon. He's also in the best form of his life with the Alpine. He's also raced twice at Monaco, both with Force India, and the second time in 2018 he finished 6th. So I mean, there is reason to hope for both Ocon and Gasly, two French drivers racing in Monaco. It could be quite a show that they put on if they do well, and history suggests that they could do well. But again, they're in the form of their lives right now, so they could put on a good show on Saturday and Sunday, and that I'm sure everyone will love to see. And if neither of them will be wanted by Alpine or the Red Bull family long term, then you have to think that other teams will come calling for both of them because they're doing very well right now.
No, 100% agree. I think also when it comes to Pierre Gasly, I think he's kind of come out and said that, you know what, if Red Bull doesn't want me, which I highly doubt that they're going to go back to that he would go back up to Red Bull, because they wouldn't do that, because they would just make themselves look dumb then. If anything, they're going to try to grab Yuki Tsunoda in a couple of years, to bring him up to the first team and stuff, like Red Bull team. But my two drivers to watch for, I would say one being Daniel Ricciardo, because I did say that he could grab a podium for qualifying, and because I think he's going to be, and also I'd say Charles Leclerc. I think he's going to be another driver to watch for. It's his home Grand Prix, showing some good pace this year. So those are my two drivers. One thought, Julian?
Yeah, another thing that we could watch for. It's not exactly a very pleasant storyline, but it's one that can definitely affect the psyche of drivers. We didn't race here in 2020, and when we raced here in 2019, For the F2 series, Antoine Hubert got his first ever F2 win at Monaco in 2019. And as we know, later on that year, he tragically lost his life. And as we know, Pierre and Charles both were childhood friends of Antoine. So who knows? You might see maybe a remembrance or something of the sort because of his passing and everything. I might expect to see that in Spa. Maybe not. Who knows? But at Monaco, I think it would be a great way to honor their friend. And also, I feel like they're also going to race with an additional chip on the shoulder, even apart from the fact that, they're technically French drivers at a technically French track. It's kind of how it is. But I think it would be really, really funny if we saw either Ocon, specifically Ocon, because that would just be shades of Olivier Panis. He literally won 25 years ago for this weekend on the 25th anniversary of that crazy Grand Prix. If we see Esteban Ocon lifting up the champagne on the top step of the podium, that would just be very funny. That would be very ironic.
Yes. I think the only way that would happen is that there's a big crash in the front that takes out all the leaders. That's
hey.
Hey.
If it happened 25 years ago, it can happen this year.
You never know. You never know.
I kind of have a gut feeling, like, so there's a
maybe I just jinxed it just saying that. Maybe, Hamilton's going to crash with maybe, who knows. But anyways, that is going to be our show for everyone today. Thank you much for watching. Make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel and check out intermissionsports.com for more content. We will be back next week with our post-race show of the Monaco Grand Prix to see what unfolds as well. Have a nice day, everyone.